welcome back to Driven District. So, that was loud. So in this video, which honestly I've been trying to put together for a while, way overdue, took a while to gather and put together all the pieces and everything. I'm going to be going over blow-off valve issues and wastegate issues. It's a very common problem actually with the 124 Spider, although this could happen with other cars as well. Now, when I had these issues, I was getting some low RPM surging, which I was told from the blow-off valve, and I was having some high RPM, kind of like stuttering, kind of like the surging, a little different, and that was from the wastegate. So I'm going to be going in depth explaining that. I have some videos where I mic up the engine bay and exhaust, as some of you may know, and that actually worked out pretty well. I did that just because I thought it sounded cool, I wanted to be a little bit different, but it actually helped diagnose when we listened to the engine mic'd up. So I'm going to be playing some videos for you showing the sound before and after with the issue, before the fix, after the fix, what to listen for. Although it is mic'd up under the engine, you will be able to hear it audibly in the car as you're driving. I remember hearing it, feeling it, seeing the tack being a little jumpy, the car itself just not driving right. So we're going to cover this. And I know one thing, a lot of people like to blame the tune, and sometimes it is the tune, but most of the time it's the parts on the car not working properly. And my example is the perfect one of that, okay? So I had issues with when I went phase 1 with Euro Compulsion, and when I was talking to Toby and I sent him these videos and everything, he said the throttle was actually closing from boost spiking too high. That was the wastegate issue causing that stutter, and to mitigate that, he can adjust the boost curve and the way it's coming on, or we can adjust the springs and the crack pressure and this and that. And I replied back and said, look, I want to run the most power I can, although safely. So don't touch the tune. Let me adjust these springs and swap it out to what you recommend, and we'll see what happens. After I swapped it out, things felt fine. I did not touch the tune. It is the same tune that gave me issues, although it wasn't the tune, you know what I'm saying? It was the same tune. We adjusted what needed to be adjusted, and now things are working proper. So we're gonna dive in, cover this in depth, show it. Hopefully you guys get some value out of this. So now another important thing is I'm gonna be covering my experience, what I've learned throughout this process. Toby, what he relayed to me, I'm gonna try relaying to you guys, but again, I'm not the most mechanically inclined. So it's going to be difficult to relay some of this. I might not be saying it proper with the lingo and everything. This is where I want you guys to come in. There's a lot of folks that are either subscribed to me or on Facebook or whatever, YouTube, the forums, this, that know a lot more when it comes to these type of aspects and really the mechanics of everything. So comment below and further explain things. Not only going to help me, but it's going to help the other people watching this who ran into these issues. So I want to touch base a little bit on the mechanical side, the educational knowledge, all that stuff, but take it with a grain of salt. I might not be saying everything 100% proper, and I would love for you guys to go down and comment if you know a little bit more about it. But the most important thing is we're going to be covering the sounds and the issues that I had before, what I did to fix it, and what it sounds and looks like after. That everyone should be able to understand, and we'll touch base, like I said, a little bit on the function and what was causing it, so to say. When you're hearing the full throttle pulls, having the engine under the hood does cause a louder whistling sound. Yeah, you heard me right. Having an engine under the hood. I might say have a microphone under the hood. You freaking better have an engine under the hood if you're driving a damn car. So Forge sends your blow-off valve, with ours at least, a 124 Spider, with a yellow spring pre-installed and a blue spring on the side. The blue spring is a little bit harder, I believe, meant for a little bit higher boost. So all this is going to depend on your tune, how much boost you're running, all that stuff. Initially, mine went on with the yellow spring, and it was causing some surging down low. Let's actually just dive into that real quick and let you guys hear and see what it sounded like. So right there, you can clearly hear that surging, and you can see it. I know when I drove it, I felt it. It was just not pulling smoothly on the lower RPMs. So that was from having the yellow Forge blow-off valve spring. Going to the blue, fix that low RPM surging. Now, why was that happening? Again, this is the part where you guys might know a little bit more than me, but there was a solenoid involved and it was more or less kind of pulsing. I think the yellow spring was too soft and it was opening when it wasn't supposed to, but at the same time, it kind of started to close and kind of cause that open, close surging to happen at low RPM. You guys know more? By all means, comment below, educate me and everyone else watching this so we know a little bit more about that. But like I said, going to the blue spring fixed that low RPM surging. I also have a quick clip of 6th gear because I know usually I was in the lower gears here. So I'm really quick gonna play that. The before, the after, you're gonna see 6th gear. I actually had a clip where I was giving it some throttle, low RPM in 6th before, you're gonna hear it, and then again after, and it sounds smooth. Real quick, we'll play that. So that's the blow-off valve issues, the common issue that if you have or you hear, that could be the fix for you. If your car is kind of stuttering or surging at the lower RPM and it's not pulling smooth, definitely take a look into it. Make sure you're running the right spring for the amount of boost that your car is pushing. Next, we're going to be covering that high RPM stuttering. It's not that different from the surging. It's more of like a sound. It's very consistent. And this was, from what I'm told, the throttle closing from the boost spiking up a little too quick, throttle closing, kind of like your foot coming off the gas, causing what you're hearing, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's still the blow-off valve going off. It's just being, I guess, actuated by the Wastegate actuator because it's closing the throttle, causing the blow-off valve to kind of go off. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me on that, but I believe that's what it is. This, again, is more higher RPM, and we're gonna play that, and then we'll go over why it was causing that, and then how it sounded after. So as you can hear there, it's very, very noticeable. Like I said, in the car too, you can tell, okay? Now, that issue was the Forge Wastegate actuator. It comes pre-installed with the yellow, at least when I purchased mine from Eurocompulsion. And the yellow Forge spring was the right spring for a tuned 124 Spider at, like, I don't know when, but it was at a time I was told. But Forge switched up their blow-off valve spring rates, and now purple is what the old yellow one used to be. Keep in mind, this depends on how much boost your car is running, what you're setting your crack pressure to, all that stuff. So why was I getting these issues? Basically, the wastegate was set too aggressive. Either the spring was too aggressive or the crack pressure was set too high. And more or less, it was both of those. So I went from the yellow, more aggressive spring at, I think it was around 11 PSI. When I had those issues you just heard. Yellow spring, 11 PSI, give or take. Then I went to the purple spring, a little bit softer, and went down to a 9.5 PSI crack pressure. I think they recommend 10, but at the time, at the shop, whatever, we set it to 9.5, and it drove fine on phase 1. Now I'm on phase 2, still fine. I think I've had, maybe 3 months on phase 1, I forget, now I'm phase 2. These video examples are from when I had phase 1, just because I had the clips that sounded good for comparison. But even right now, phase 2 drives perfectly fine, did not have to adjust any of that. So now let's go and listen to what it sounded like after swapping out from yellow to purple and lowering crack pressure from, like, give or take 11 to 9.5. Let's listen to that. So as you can hear, it's smooth. Both the issues I had, the blow-off valve, low RPM surging, the higher RPM with the wastegate actuator going off, it was all fixed from swapping out those parts and putting the right springs in. The tune was never touched. It was never adjusted. So I know a lot of folks like to blame tunes on stuff. And believe me, there are a lot of times where the tune needs to be adjusted. But what I've come to realize is even sometimes when the tune has to get adjusted, a lot of it could be from the parts on the car. So it's kind of like, do you not want to change the parts on your car? And then your tuner is gonna have to maybe detune it or work around what you're running? Or do you want to run the components that your tuner already tested and has proven that it works? That's why some tuners say, like, you know, these are the recommended parts, because they've just tested with those and they know it doesn't cause issues. You know, there are cars that are going to run those exact parts. There are going to be issues. Stuff's going to happen, but it's going to be less if you have the parts that are recommended by the tuner. One more thing I wanted to note was the blow-off valve issue, I was told, does not cause any harm to like the engine or turbo, that like low RPM surging. More or less it's harmless, I was told, but the higher RPM stuttering that's happening at the higher RPM, I was told that can put a little bit of stress on either the turbo or the engine. Again, you guys can comment below a little more specifics on that, but I heard that could be a little bit of strain, not a ton, but a little bit. So you definitely want to look out for these issues, both if you're feeling stutter, if in anywhere, if you're giving it gas and your car's not revving smooth in a linear fashion and you're getting any type of surge or stutter, look into it. See if any of these are the issues. Talk to your tuner, figure it out, because you don't want to keep going long term with these issues. Your car's not running optimal at that point. It's putting stress in areas that it shouldn't be. Definitely figure that stuff out. So one more thing, I did start a Patreon. I had some folks talk about it before. You know, I know it's a really good way for you guys to support the channel if you want to. By no means do you have to feel necessary to do it at all. But going forward, I'm gonna start doing some bigger giveaways. I wanna start partnering up with some of the bigger companies out there. I haven't done it yet, but I got some big things coming. I have drivendistrict.com. As you can tell, I got some merch behind me. That's a great way to support the channel. Thank you to all the supporters who have purchased through my site. Patreon is another thing. We have as low as like a couple of dollars a month. I'll have the link below. I'll be updating it, but I just wanted to put this in there because I know there are some folks, you know, they might not be interested in merch, but they might be like, yeah, you know what? I'll put $5 a month to support the channel, keep it going. And obviously I greatly appreciate that. And I'll keep doing the best that I can and take everything into consideration you guys are saying and doing. And yeah, we'll go from there. So thanks a lot. So that being said, I have one thing left that we're still trying to figure out. I have another video. I'm not sure if it's going to be up before or after this one because I did already record it. But my blow-off valve was a little bit delayed, okay? That'll be a different video. I'll link it up here when it's live. If it's after this, then you'll have to wait a little bit afterwards. If it's before, it'll already be live. But there's another issue that I was having was my blow-off valve was a little bit delayed. We'll cover that in another video though. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Hopefully it helped. Like I said, you guys who know more, comment below. I love talking about this type of stuff. All right, camera died right when it ended. Thank God I got like the last bit in. So just to close it off, if you guys enjoyed the video, as always, give it a like. For the folks who know more about this than me, comment below. It's gonna help both me and everyone else watching this video. Let me, again, just expand on everything that I covered. Subscribe if you're interested in more content on my car, other cars and stuff like this. Be sure to check out drivendistrict.com if you wanna pick up some merch. We got a lot of stuff, as you know. I'll catch you guys in the next video.